Dalzio.
Here.
Mr. Chase.
Here.
Mr. Jennings.
Here.
Ms. Menard.
Here.
Mr. Beegan.
Here.
Dr. Nero.
Here.
In accordance to the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, any member of the public may make an audio or video recording of this meeting. A member of the public who wishes to record the meeting must first notify the chair and must comply with reasonable requirements regarding audio, video, or equipment established by the chair as so not to be interfered with the meeting. Is anybody other than the camera crew? Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We need to approve the minutes of September 8, 2016. Need a motion?
Motion made.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. We also need to approve the minutes of September 30th, 2016, and need a motion.
Motion made.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Next, we have a presentation, Mr. Orban.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson Jennings. If it's okay with you, I'd like to call members of the Diamond alumni, Mr. John Viveris and Mr. Tom Branco, to come to the center and present the award to Mr. Dennis Abdow. Mr. Abdow, if you'd be kind enough to come to the front.
Excuse me. Excuse my We all set?
We are, Mr. Abdow, the camera.
The school would like to make a presentation here to you, Dennis, for all your years of service, presented to Dennis Abdow in dedication to 60 years of honorable service to the Diamond community, student, teacher, administrator, advisor.
Mr. Abdow, stand right there for a second, so if anyone wants to take a picture of anything like that. Also, while you're doing that, I will point out that that plaque will be hung in the alumni office in honor of Mr. Abdow. And I can say personally that I've been associated with Diamond 40 years, and Mr. Abdow has been a fixture in the school and advocating for students throughout his career here. So we are completely humbled by the amount of service you've given to this district. Thank you so very much. Absolutely.
You're looking at a couple of the main people in the Alumni Association that have a tremendous impact on everything that goes on with the Alumni Association, from golf tournaments to car shows to oh my God,
Rockin' scholarships.
The hockey game, and the Hall of Fame. Honestly, I have to say that Tom started this ball rolling some 18 years ago and built it up to what it is today. This past year, we gave out $13,000 in scholarships to students of Diamond, graduating students. And when Tom needed a break, I know he stepped off the school committee because he was a school committee member, and he devoted even more time to the alumni.
It's not about me, brother.
I know. Next, who picked up the ball when we needed more help, all he said is, "Can you do this?" "Sure." "Can you do this?" "Sure." And that's basically his response to everything that goes on. So, and for all the members, secretaries, treasurers, all the help, Carl Sawayko, Bob Chaucer, Eddie Hill. Thanks, Ed.
No problem. Yeah, because we have former superintendent, Mr. Martins, back there, who came to celebrate you, so we brought the heavy hitters for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice job. We're not
One last thing, I want to thank the school committee and the administration for all of the support. Believe me, from John Harrington all the way up to the present, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. If I may, Mr. Jennings, we have another presentation. We'd like to introduce a Skills USA champion for us. Ms. Hannah Ann Marantes participated in the Skills USA competition in June. At the time, she won a 4th place finish nationally. However, after a recalculation of the scores, come to find out, Ms. Ann Marantes was a 3rd place winner and the winner of a bronze medal. So, I'd like to call Mr. Fabrizio and Mr. Oliveira, co-chairs, to do a presentation.
Ms. Barabee joined us also.
Thank you.
Thank you all. When a member of, when one of our students earns a medal, there's always an advisor, Ms. Barabee. There's always an advisor that assists them. And so when they win a medal on the national level, both the student and the advisor both receive a medal. Before I present this one, 12 years ago, Mr. Oliveira and I started doing skills. We found a box. And then we put the box away, and we just recently came across it again. And I opened it up, and it was a silver medal with the business card of Dennis Abdow in it. It was a national silver medal he earned. How many years ago, Mr. Abdow? Too many. Well, we just returned it to Mr. Abdow. So we wanted to make sure that he had that. Hannah, we went through a lot with districts. Hannah had a dodgeball accident just before districts. She persevered and won. And then she went to nationals, and she was a class act when she earned 4th. So it's my pleasure to present you with a national bronze medal for medical terminology. Now, like everything with skills, there's always some kind of a mystery prize that goes with the medal. The mystery prize was 3 gift cards that came in the mail. One was for Lowe's, it said $50 on it. One was for Staples, and I guess it's a game, you have to figure out how much it's worth. And the third one is Best Buy, okay? And so those have also came from you, from Skills USA National.
Nice.
So, congratulations. One final note, Hannah's parents drove down to Louisville for the award ceremony. So it's fitting that they're here tonight and you didn't have to drive this far for this one. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And on a side note, I knew Hannah was a very special student when I did cafeteria duty here. She had a lunchbox that said organ donor on it. I knew she was very special.
Okay, moving on. The interim LPN director, Mr. Alden.
Yes, that's just to report out that, again, last time we had Mrs. Patero named as the LPN director. We are still continuing to move forward with Ms. Dumont, getting the process done so that she will be the full-time director. So we're just sort of reporting out on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a couple of the advisory committee appointments. First, we have Christopher Charest, collision refinish, lead technician and paint department supervisor for Friday Cars, 19 years of experience. Recommendation is to approve. Need a motion?
Motion made.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is Patrick Ingleby, a government education specialist with Xerox, I'm sorry, with 5 years of experience in the graphic communications field. The motion is to appoint.
Motion made.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Karen Oliveira, recent retired health assistant instructor with Diamond, 32 years. Motion is to approve. With a motion?
Motion
Need a
made.
second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Roger Wilkie, owner of Roger Wilkie Builder Incorporated with 39 years of experience in the carpentry field. Motion is to approve.
Motion made.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have another personnel additions. Mr. Orban, you want to comment on those?
Sure, absolutely, and if it's okay with the chairperson, I'd actually like to take them out of order, and I'd like to start with the school psychologist. Diamond Regional currently does not have a school psychologist on staff. What we do currently is we contract out for a school psychologist. I'm proposing to have a full-time school psychologist, and there's a number of reasons why I'm doing it. As the state has made social emotional learning one of the 5 major initiatives that the state is looking towards, it's clear that districts that are going to be taken serious in that realm are going to need a full-time school psychologist. When we took a look at the numbers of what we were spending with the school psychologist and other consultants, we felt that a school psychologist full-time could take on, working with other members of the guidance department, some of the consulting work that's being done, and we believe we can do it at a not just a cheaper rate, because that's really not what's important here, but it's more important to provide the quality services to our students. The needs of our students have become greater over the past, just like the rest of society. And so what we're looking at is we're trying to find a full-time school psychologist who can do things like functional behavioral assessment, so we don't have to contract that out. Most recently, we had an incident take place. It involved a student. It really would have been very helpful to have somebody in the building on staff to deal with that, because as it ended up involving the members of the fire department who came in and things of that nature. School psychologists, we believe, can provide much more individual attention and specialization to our kids. And again, I have Mrs. Miller here from the guidance department who would like to share a little bit about that at this point, if that's okay with you.
Bill?
So one of the other reasons I think we need to look at the school psychologist is we're having more and more students that we're having mental health issues. Mrs. Hetzler sent over 20 students last year to be evaluated for a crisis. We had 20 of the kids that we have lost in the past year had social emotional issues. If we have someone here on a full-time basis that could not just do testing, but actually have relationships with kids and do consulting work with us, I think it will pay dividends for us and our students.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller.
Can I make the motion? I move that we hire a school psychologist.
My question is, what's the pay?
Pay rate,
First we
have a motion.
Motion,
We need a
right.
second.
I think it's in here.
I don't know if it's,
The range is in here.
To move things along, we're looking at anywhere between $70,000 and $80,000.
I still need a second. We have a motion?
Second.
Second. Okay, now we'll have a discussion.
discussion, I was looking at the salary, and I've also been told that the, how soon are you gonna hire this person?
Well, we're going to go through the process like we always do. There would be a posting, a 10-day posting. During that time, we would do what this administration is committed to doing, putting together a professional committee to do the interviewing. After the interview takes place, the recommendation of the committee will be what determines who we're going to hire. So that committee, in my opinion, should have a number of stakeholders. It should certainly have the academic and vocational coordinator, it should have the director of special education, it should have the director of guidance, it should have a member of the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, and again, anybody else that we think might be a good candidate. Again, we need to get the best person because the need is so great and we can't afford to do this haphazardly. This administration is committed to professional hiring of our people. And I would even add to that, our human resource person should also be another person involved, because we've had Mrs. Kenny and the Director of Human Resources in on the last couple of interviews, and it's actually gone very well.
Would Mrs. Pacheco be part of this as well?
I said, right, absolutely, the Director of Special Education.
I will say, Tom, that I met with the guidance just to talk about, because I didn't know a lot about school psychologists and how much work they would do in the school. And after sitting with them for over an hour, I was baffled at the amount of work that they do dealing with special needs. And I think having somebody on hand every day during the school hours is beneficial to the school and to them. They cannot say that it's going to cover every aspect of the counseling because we're still going to have to outsource some of it. But this is going to take care of a lot of the screening, a lot of the day-to-day stuff that goes on with these individuals. And, you know, we also have Ms. Setzler as well, but having a school psychologist on hand is going to be beneficial to the school. I'm as cheap as they come. I don't like to spend money. This might cost us more, who knows? We'll see what the final budget comes out, but it's going to be better for the student body.
As you know, I was a special ed director once in my life, and it was important to have not only the school psychologist in the building all the time, but also at meetings with the parents, because there are issues that we couldn't answer. And yes, you're right, there are going to be some students that have severe, different kinds of issues that we may have to still go to a medical doctor or someone else, but this is important. This absolutely is important.
And again, we're looking at the school psychologists to do a lot of the consult that we're currently paying people on the outside to do. So we're going to try and take a look at how we can save money on, and if not necessarily save money, have accountability for what's being done. Because we think we need to tighten that up as an administrative team. We are responsible to taxpayers for every dollar that's spent, and we understand that. And most recently, I spent time presenting at the University of Massachusetts Law School, where in looking at the problems that superintendents are facing, every one of them is talking about the cost of social emotional learning. We're trying to get a hold of that by having somebody full-time here who can do a lot of the work that we're currently outsourcing. Because if we have to outsource this stuff, quite frankly, we can't control the cost of it because we don't know what the cost will be. So,
and sometimes you don't even know the quality. When you have someone on here full-time, you know that that person is able to do. And then that person, if they can't handle it, would be the person that would say, hey, we need to bring a specialist in, a psychiatrist or something. So I think this is really important.
Okay. Mr. Orban, from a contractual issue, it's going to be 12-month?
it would be a district employee, it would be a year contract.
1 year, but it's going to be prorated this first year?
It would have to be, sure.
Okay.
Do we have any existing contract with the services that we outsource?
The only people that sign contracts are the district manager and myself. And right now, we're paying them on a per diem basis or a per unit
Okay,
basis.
so as needed.
That's
Bill-
correct.
billable.
And I will also
Right.
tell you that, you know, and I was glad a couple of the members of the special education pack are here. And we actually sat down and we talked for over an hour and 15 minutes on Friday because they had concerns, and legitimate concerns. They're worried about their kids, and they should be. Some of them are the most vulnerable, and we want to make sure that they're taken care of. I challenge anyone to be more vociferous in their defense of our special education population. So,
This person, in the contract, it will be, the person will be available 24/7?
I don't believe it works that way. They would
No.
work under,
No, just in case something crazy happens, like on the weekend.
well, I can tell you right now, we had something that took place, and I'm not going to talk about specifically what happened.
Right.
Something took place 2 weeks ago. We have a procedure in place where if anything happens, superintendent, district manager, we have the sort of the networking where I spoke with Mrs. Miller. Mrs. Miller got in touch with Mrs. Hetzler. We brought the team together. And again, we have resources in the event that something of what I would call an aberration takes place.
This person will also be part of that team, there'll be a phone call.
There would be an important part of the team.
I'm just saying, that person will also be
Not even most important.
notified.
But I think they're professional. I think that
Exactly.
they understand if one of their students, something happens to one of their students, if in fact they have to be around, they show up. It's not.
It's within the scope of practice.
It's within the scope of practice, but it's not, doesn't have to be written.
But-
It's
But one thing I will tell you, Mr. Chase, is the fact that this person should be meeting with our students who have needs with the parents, so they can talk about the services that they're providing. Because again, parents wouldn't necessarily know what the function of a school psychologist is. And it's important for us to have that connection with the public. They need to know what they're getting.
I have one more question, Mr. Chairman. School psychologists, if they're working for the district, if one of our staff has an issue, we have, what, 200 and something people?
230 employees.
230 employees. one of them are having issues, is this also gonna be covered under this job?
Well, again, I would suggest that, again, something like that is, you know, first of all, we have the employee assistance program. But I can tell you that there have been times where this staff, and, you know, when people talk about family, you know, I know they use it haphazardly, but, you know, we've all had times where we needed to sit down and talk to one another. And we have a real strong group of people who will go and do that. As a matter of fact, Ms. Thompson provides me with services every day.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Moving on, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Okay, the second one, which is really the first one, was the communication one. And what I've provided, or what Ms. Thompson has provided for you, and we're not going to go through this today because it's so complex that we're actually going to ask the chairperson to table this to have a larger discussion about this going forward. But this involves a lot of the information that you asked for in terms of the total student population, the number of students who have left Diamond Regional, the reasons why they've left Diamond Regional, and rather than go into this in great detail, I can tell you that we have a crisis coming up. My superintendent director's report is going to talk to you about the fact that the population growth in the Bristol County area in 2014 was only 0.4%. When you take a look at the number of schools that we have now competing for students, it's become clear that we're getting, quite frankly, negatively impacted by a number of factors. And Mr. Ferreira was kind enough to do some legwork just to give you some basic numbers on the Atlantis Charter. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to direct the chair to Mr. Ferreira to just tell you what his research has uncovered.
We looked at the past 4 years with the charter school. Their initial enrollment was around 750, and now they're up to 1,032, and they're currently taking grade 9 and grade 10 students. So if you continue that projection out for the next 2 years, they'll be at around 1,200, 1,250 students by the time they have seniors, which means that's 250 more students that are out of the pool of eligible candidates to come to Diamond Regional. So it's information we're looking into, the growth of both of the charter schools in the city. The other charter school has gone from 100 to 200, and they're only 6th and 7th grade. So if they project out 2 years, they'll be at 500 in a couple of years, which again leads to the fact that we will have a shrinking pool of applicants that will come to Diamond Regional if we're not proactive.
That's true.
Now, beyond that, again, and I'll try and get a twofer with the superintendent's report, you know, it's not just the charter schools anymore. Westport has school choice, Somerset has school choice. We are facing, in my opinion, a crisis. To keep the numbers where they are now in the next couple of years, we would literally have to take in 391 freshman students. That's a veritable impossibility to do for scheduling purposes. So we've got to get aggressive, and we've got to get aggressive in a real hurry, because the longer we wait on something like this, the more likely it is that we're going to be on the outside looking in. Not just for numbers, but for the numbers of students that are going to be successful in a technical school that is requiring more and more academic and vocational ability. So we're looking at trying to recruit in the best possible way going. I spoke with Mr. DiBiasio the other day about the fact that, you know, if you take a look at a lot of the schools now, they're on television. You know, you've got Bishop Hendricken advertising on Channel 12. You've got LaSalle. You've got all of these schools that are advertising on different media. So the idea is that we need to get ahead of this. Well, how do we go about doing that with what we have? Now, I have Mr. Burns here, who's dying 1,000 deaths because he twisted his ankle when he was taping the volleyball game. We have him doing everything. He's our webmaster. He's our public relations person relative to the media. We're thin on that. And what's happening is all of these other areas, you know, they're putting together publications, they're putting together quality things that, quite frankly, take time, and you need somebody dedicated to doing that. I dumped, quite frankly, and I'll use the term, the social media on Mr. Gazzaro because, quite honestly, he's the youngest guy on the administration, and that's why I did it to him. But quite frankly, I need that guy out there to chase money from companies, because we know if we're going to get additions, if we're going to get an expansion of this place, we need corporate money to do it. The state is tapped out. So in doing all of this, the idea behind a communications person is to take it off all of our plates. They would handle that. They would do the publications that go forward. They would be a professional publication. They would take control of the branding. As it is now, I don't know if you've looked at our emails, but we recently put a new tag on all emails because we're trying to professionalize the place. Because as part of the superintendent report, as part of the meeting I went to when you were there, Senator, they made it clear, stop running your schools like a business or you're going to be out of business. And again, we always have to understand we're a business with human beings. So we're not going to forget the human being part of it. But we do have to start getting aggressive in terms of how we market this place and how we can get the kids, because they just aren't there anymore.
Right. The other thing is, would that entail the LPN program?
Oh, are you kidding? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, Mr. Gazzaro was asked a month ago to triage over at some of the nursing homes in an effort to try and get our kids into these places. Again, you know, we're asking people like Mr. Burns and Mr. Gazzaro and Mrs. Mancini to do all kinds of things in an effort to just stay afloat. What we're trying to do is put a professional organization together that has a professional communications person who, when something isn't right, we go to and say, hey, look, what happened here? 2 months ago, or a month ago, we put in an ad in the Herald News for night school. Nobody's fault of their own. The link did not link to anything. So it was a $2,000 ad that we had. The Herald News was kind enough to rerun it on a Tuesday. Tuesday isn't Sunday. We lost out on people are money. So again, in looking at this organization of $23 million, we've got to take a little more of a business approach to it. We are watching every dollar, I can assure you of that.
I had spoken to another school district, vocational school district, and they hired one of these communications people to go out. They had 0 waiting list before this person took over. Once this person took over, she got into the schools, she got into the public, she got into even little things as far as athletes, honors of awards, teachers, getting awards, teachers getting certificates. All this was being put to the press, and now the school has a waiting list. So it's something that's very important if it's done properly and it's done right, where the person goes out there and is getting our name out there, getting our name in the local papers, getting our name to the students in the elementary schools and the junior highs. They even started, because of her pushing, they started a program during the summer for 7th graders, to get 7th graders to come to the school, to learn about the school, and to get into the shops and do little things. So a lot of that is the communications person did, and it worked out. It was beneficial to that school district. But if it's done properly, if it's just another person that's coming in and is going to do exactly what we're doing now, then it's a waste of money.
Oh, I want to make it abundant.
We did that with Crystal Aggie,
Yeah.
and it was, they hired someone finally, and they changed the whole
Outlook, yeah.
Outlook.
They have a waiting list.
Well, again, this came across our fax yesterday from Middleborough, looking for a communications person, and according to Ms. Thompson, the list server was off the charts for people, because they understand, the population is shrinking. We have less and less kids, and that's a huge problem for us, because we're fighting against communities that are trying very hard to keep their best and brightest.
But I was going to say that you also have to be attracting kids that are going to succeed. And so what we find, and looking at your charts, in the junior year, some kids are dropping out. And they're dropping out because they can't succeed academically. So we're not only looking for kids that, we want kids that also can succeed academically as well as in the shops. So I thank you for that. I think this is a great idea, so.
But it's tough. Did we fill the numbers from Somerset this year, or we haven't?
No, we didn't. I don't believe so, no.
So like Somerset, nobody wanted to come over from Somerset because they have the brand new school over there.
We didn't have a waiting list. We took in the certain numbers, but we didn't have a waiting list.
You know,
with
Mr.
a
Chair,
few
your
others.
point, if I may, Mr. DeVito, your point's well taken. We can't reach them from the traditional ways that we do it.
Right.
We've got to get them through multimedia approach, because otherwise, they're not going to know. I'm stunned at how many people still don't understand that 60% of our kids went on to 2 or 4 year colleges. What do we have to do at this point? Well, we need a marketing strategy, and we need a professional marketing strategy. I'm a bald-headed guy missing a tooth that calls the Herald News and says, we've got at the University of Alabama here. Can you come by and do a story on us? That's all well and good, but it's a haphazard approach to it. And it's not going to grab the kids from Somerset. And it's not going to change the minds of parents who are saying, hey, look, I'm not sure I can send my kids to Diamond because they can't go to college yet. I can't tell you how much it annoys me.
Why not?
It just annoys me.
Is it time to look at some shops and they're almost like obsolete and time to bring in some new shops like?
Well, it's interesting that you're saying that, Mr. Chase, because in my discussion with the Farm Bengal Foundation today, one of the things I talked about is, you know, if we are lucky enough to get a new building at some point, the challenge of this administration is going to be, maybe it's not a shop issue, because when you take a look at the statistics, 20 years from now, approximately 50% of all jobs that exist, they're not going to exist. So we're shooting in the dark relative to, we're going to create a shop which may not even exist 20 years from now. So we look at some of the ones that can't go away. You know, certainly childcare, you know, is one that can't go away. So, but we've got to take a look, and this is why we've got to send people to places like Google, and we've got to send them to Tesla and SpaceX and have them see, you know, what do they mean by the synergy? I'm extremely worried about our automotive technology program, because again, the driverless cars are here, and I keep banging that drum because that's a paradigm shift for that program, meaning that we may have to load that place up with computers rather than. So the challenges are great, and we need to stay on top of that. It's our responsibility. Right?
Thank you.
All right,
We have to-
we really have to move along because we don't want to lose some members, so.
I understand.
we have
I apologize.
No, not a problem.
No, we have another meeting
what-
at 6:30.
So you want to just hold off on that one, put that, or you want to,
Yeah,
you got it on there, or?
Well, again, I think the communication, the longer we wait on this, you know, we're now into November with admissions night, and you know, here we are, we're putting together admissions night. I mean, again,
I think it's important with communications. I mean, you discussed, you know, Somerset not hitting their numbers. I mean, the simplest thing is, you know, the last time you read the Spectator, when was the last time we saw something about Diamond in the Spectator, which is the Swansea Somerset paper? You just don't, but there's always 2 pages of sporting events from Somerset and Swansea schools in the Spectator, but there's never a Diamond piece. And those are the simplest things that parents are reading these papers. The kids saw not so much, but the parents are.
well, you're right, and even Westport's the shoreline. We just don't think about it because we've got so much going on trying to, you know, get a hold of this, so.
Okay.
Do you, does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we go ahead with the communications specialist hiring.
Need a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
The security person, if it's okay with you, Chairperson Jennings, I'd like to table that, if that's okay.
Just move it to new business, you don't have to table it, okay?
Okay, thank you
don't
very
have to
much.
make any votes,
Attorney
just
Brilliant.
new business, excuse me, the old business next, whenever you want to bring it back.
Okay.
Thank you. The grant writer, to me, you know, I think I spoke to you, Mr. DiBiasio. We keep getting emails from the DESE on these grants that are coming in. I was on the phone with MAVA Director Dave Ferreira. Many of you know him as a former Diamond academic coordinator. They sent an email out yesterday saying that we have to send a letter of intent for the capital grants, the ones that we were rejected last year. I called him up and I said to him, I just got this email. I mean, how do I get a hold? And he said, well, just send the email. But all of this takes time in a day. The way I look at the grant writer is real simple. If they're good at what they do, they pay for themselves over and over again. So that's why we put that in there. And if they don't do a good job, and I'm not trying to be cold, then we find somebody else at that point. So I mean, so that's all I've got about the grant writer. I mean,
Is that going to be a part-time
it
position?
would be a part-time position, Mr. DiBiasio.
I move it.
Need a motion?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We do have one resignation. We do have a retirement. Give you information. On the new business, we have use of facilities. We have a request received from Soul Dance Academy for use of the auditorium Wednesday, June 28, 2017. Is that 2017?
Yep.
Yeah.
Rehearsal, 250 for the auditorium, and Friday, June 30th, 2017, for one show for 600. Motion is to approve.
Motion made.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We also received a request from Whitney Academy. Freetown to use the culinary arts and carpentry and cabinet making shops. The after-school classes will begin October 17th, 2016 through May 17th, 2017, Monday and Wednesdays.
I have one quick question.
Yep.
Is that $13.25 cover the costs of the instructors and everything there?
I would be a question I'd defer to Mrs. Kenny.
I wasn't paying attention. Yes, I apologize, I was going on.
No, it does not, Mr. DiBiaseo.
What's this?
It does not cover the
It does
cost.
not cover the cost.
Of the teachers?
That's the rental.
Is it?
But
so
they
it doesn't-
pay them directly.
They pay them.
They pay the teachers
Right.
direct?
They pay directly, we have no cost.
Okay,
So
that's
this is
no
pure
cost,
rental
that's
income.
my question.
Yeah, very little though.
All right.
Teachers get paid directly.
Motion to approve.
Motion made?
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? House Building Subcommittee report. We did finally come up with an agreement with the House, and the kids will be going out Monday to start that project.
That is correct. And again, I need to say it publicly, I want to thank Mike Dion from CDA. I want to thank Attorney Brilliant. I want to thank Mr. Ferreira. They slugged it out, but they got it done. So I want to thank them all for the job they did.
Groundbreaking is when?
Well, like I said, Monday, they better be laying some silk grade out there. By the way, the house is on Duluth Street, in case anybody needs to know about that.
Policy Subcommittee report.
Need a motion, if I may, Mr. Jennings, to,
The peers from the last meeting.
Oh,
Oh, the peers.
need a motion on the piers for the refrigerators.
That's
for the
correct.
culinary arts.
absolutely.
Need a second?
Second.
Cafeteria.
All in cafeteria?
Yeah,
Yep.
cafeteria.
Cafeteria. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Policy Committee?
All the other policies that we had already previously discussed are all set. We just had the one left on the, for the dual enrollment. We looked it over. Mr. Orban and his staff did a great job putting it together. We had Mr. Began, who was really the forefront of pushing it forward for this. Look at it, he said everything looked great. Everything's equal to what other schools are doing. So the policy subcommittee is making a recommendation that we approve the dual enrollment policy.
The,
well as all of them, right?
That's correct.
So all of them we have to do as well. I thought we did that.
All as
So all
submitted
the,
in the agenda.
right.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
Need a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Employee handbook, you want to request the table this until?
We do, if that's okay with you, Chief,
Fine.
Mr. Jennings.
Again, once again, just
New
move it to
business.
the old business, okay? All
Okay.
right, you don't need the table, because
Thank
then you
you.
have to officially have a vote to take it off the table. So just move it to old business.
We need a report from the general advisory meeting.
I'll make this quick. Both Mr. Began and myself went to the advisory board meeting. I had walked around with Ms. Kenny, went to, I think we hit more than every shop. We got to introduce ourselves to the advisory members. Phenomenal group of people that dedicate their time, night off, especially when the Red Sox were ready to lose. But they were missing the game, and they were here. A lot of good information came back while we were in the shops, and then again when we went to the executive meeting later on. They're not asking for a lot, which is, I guess, out of the ordinary. We didn't realize that they usually are looking at us, begging us for things. But there were a few things that were asked for that we told them to put it into the 5-year plan, and they are going to do that. And we were overwhelmed at the amount of advisors that come and give their time, and the teachers that are here to support it. So, but there was no big purchases that anybody really wanted. Basically, the biggest thing that they were talked about is the amount of kids on co-op, and that was crazy. The advisory people are impressed on how many kids are out on co-op right now in each shop. And each shop, when they gave their little speech, all indicated how many, and we just kept looking at each other saying, wow, that's great. So great job to the staff here and to the teachers for what they're doing.
And if I may very quickly, Mr. Jennings, on the academic side of the house, we had Meet the Teacher night. We had approximately 117 parents come in, 171?
174.
174. And we're going to... 170, yes, sir. Yes,
Did
sir.
you sign in
175.
somewhere?
It's So we're gonna take a look at that, because quite frankly, we'll look at that number and we're saying, we'd like to have that a little bit stronger, so maybe we need to go back to an academic advisory when the vocational and do something different. But just as a point of information, we want you to know it was around 175.
Great. Other matters, MASC official delegate form. School committee have to vote on an annual business meeting of Massachusetts Association of School Committees. It is necessary that an official delegate be designated pursuant to the article. So who do you?
Who's gonna do that? Who's gonna be there? What night is that on? Do we know?
So just ask
when that
who's
meeting is on?
I think it's the opening meeting on Thursday.
On Thursday,
On
which
third.
both Mr. Chase and I are gonna be there, and I believe this will be.
I nominate Mr. DiBiaseo.
And then we need an alternate.
I'll be the alternate.
Thanks.
Okay.
Second?
We need a motion.
That's what he's
Second.
I made a motion.
All right, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. DiBiaseo, alternate. Mr. Chase. The MCAS
MCAS
results.
results.
Right, and again, we provided you with some information there. We want you to have time to actually look at it and digest it. I don't want to, because it is complex, and we're going to be having presentations at the next school committee meeting about exactly what this data is all about. The administrative staff is working really hard, so we don't want to rush through that, if that's okay, Chairperson Jennings. And then we'll put that on the, as old business, if we will. New business, I apologize.
There you go. Other business, other matters.
Okay, the McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Assistant Act, two of the bullets that we want to take a quick look at, and again, at the next meeting, we'll discuss it in further detail. Efforts of engaging homeless students, because again, a big theme at the social emotional level is re-engaging students. We have students who are having a very difficult time coming into school, so part of the re-engagement process is coming up with an individualized plan to ease them into it. At the forefront of this is Dr. Warren, and she put a report in your folder that is pretty extensive, so we want to give you time to take a look at it, and then if you want to bring any questions at the next meeting, we'd love to address that.
There's no vote needed on the LPN. It's just for our information. We do have expenditure approvals. Mrs. Kenny?
Yes. So you have in front of you several approvals. Rather than go through each one individually, does anyone have a specific question about a specific expense?
I do have one.
Okay.
Services the transportation to Bridgewater State University.
Yes. That, the Nebraska group. That is for an expense for a student, a special needs student, who her IEP was agreed to provide educational experiences beyond high school. She did not graduate from Diamond, and so we are required, it was a negotiation, so we were required to send her to Bridgewater.
Could you say that again?
So it is a student here who did not graduate, who is under the age of 25,
Yeah.
who her IEP was negotiated to include providing her with some services and experiences of auditing classes at Bridgewater.
That was in your IEP?
Yes.
It
So
said
you see,
Bridgewater?
pardon?
It said Bridgewater?
Yes.
So
So,
higher ed?
There's a transitional program that's
especially, and you see it up above,
at
see?
Bridgewater.
Oh, okay.
And what they did, Ms. Minot, is when the IEP team met, it was agreed that they would allow her to go. And there were some conditions with it, and at some point in time, I anticipate the school's got to address this in the future.
Right.
I
And that expense
have
is,
spoken to the special ed director, and there are certain things that are going to need to be done and readdressed
Okay.
moving forward.
that expense is also related to the third one down, the Bridgewater State University, so that's what we're paying to the university for this program, and the Nemasket group is providing a one-on-one person with this student at all times and providing transportation for that student.
Meals as well.
Wouldn't that be covered under the special needs department from the town of residence the person comes from?
No, because this student is our student, and this student did not graduate from here. So it's our obligation, and the student has, and again, I'm not a special needs specialist, but this is what I believe to be correct. The student, we're obligated to provide some expenses for the student age 25.
As age 23. Attorney Brilliant, again, Attorney Brilliant has spoken with the Director of Special Education. We're going to be looking into this.
Okay.
And we could probably report more going forward, if that's
All right.
okay.
Yep, that's fine.
It's the first
That's
time
correct.
for us.
One thing I want to bring up, just to recognize it, because we're not touching, going over everyone, the control solutions for the culinary. We do want to make sure, because since we had the award this evening, the Bengal Foundation is giving out $29,620 going for that new control program and
Software,
for the culinary. They gave $10,000 that they got from donations, and also the Pissarro scholarship is also given $7,500. So out of the so 17,500 out of the 29,620 is coming from donations for that program that's being instituted into the culinary.
And if it's okay with you, Mr. DiBiase, I would like to recognize the Fazavo Scholarship Fund, because it could have easily, as you know, Mr. Fazavo was formerly a school committee member here at Diamond. He passed away, and it was very generous of the family to step forward and make that donation to Diamond Regional.
Very good, thank you.
I also want to make mention that the balance of that expense will come from the Culinary Arts revolving account.
Okay.
All right, I need a motion to approve.
Motion made.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Monthly financial report, Mrs. Kenny?
Let's see, does anyone have any questions?
No.
We're still early, relatively early in the fiscal year, and there are nothing that is a surprise to us at this point. No item budget.
I will accept the report.
Yep.
Thank you.
Right.
One question for you, Ms.
Yes.
Kenny. On the seal coating that we voted on at the special meeting,
Right.
is that, did he give you a timetable when he's going to do it?
This weekend.
This
It'll be
weekend?
entirely done this weekend. We're gonna close the building to everyone, and they're gonna stop Friday night, and they will finish on Monday morning.
Good.
Not to correct Mrs. Kenny, but we've made arrangements for things like the football team who's playing at 1 o'clock at Tri-County. So we've got a plan in place with the director of the supervisor of buildings and grounds. So we're ready to go.
So we're excited for
Awesome.
Monday morning.
Okay,
And that expense is coming out of your capital account, not your general fund.
correct.
On a calendar of events, we have an admissions night, which would be November 3rd. Next school committee meeting is November 10th.
We're gonna
We're
do,
going to change that?
the two of us will be out of town.
What I can do is, I'll have Lucy send out something and everybody can check their schedules.
She's rushing us along.
Actually, we said we would be willing to change that. too.
Yeah, Lucy will send
Yeah,
something
you
out,
guys-
we'll come up with
Yeah.
some dates.
Yeah,
Great. We do have a need to go in executive session.
Brief.
Brief. Okay, that would be pursuant to Mass General Law 30A, 21A, paragraph 2, conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Assistant Superintendent Principal Kyle Apps. Need a motion to go in executive session?
Motion made.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Roll call.
Mr. DiBiaseo?
Yes.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Ms. Menard? Mr. Beegan?
Yes.
Dr. Nero?
Yes.